All right, welcome to those just joining us. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a great group in here, and I want to maximize our time together this evening. So big welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rebecca, and I'm the Manager of Institutional Relations here at EF Gap Year. It's also been a real joy for me to be spearheading our webinar series, and I'm really excited to have all of you joining us tonight, especially because you are all people who are thinking so far ahead for next year, which is just wonderful. We love to see it. So to just quickly walk you through our agenda tonight, I want to start off by giving you a quick introduction to the concept of the gap year and the benefits that they provide. Then I'll move into sort of talking about our EF Gap Year program specifically and how that fits into your timeline for next year. We'll also give you some scholarship information, talk through what all the details look like, the application process, and finally, I'll give you, all the details about our early action September 1st deadline and how to make sure that you get everything in by then. Quickly, a couple Zoom etiquette reminders for tonight. All of you should be automatically muted to keep that background noise to a minimum. I know you'll have a few questions as you go along, so our goal is to answer some of them in the middle, some of them at the end of the presentation. So my wonderful colleague, Natalia, you can't see her, but she's behind the screen on the keys. She'll be answering some of the questions you put in that Q&A box throughout the presentation. She might send you some helpful links, things like that. And I will be answering a few of them out loud at the end of the presentation. So anytime you think of a question, just feel free to throw it in that box. We'll definitely get that answered for you. All right, I'm going to turn off my video as I walk you through the presentation, but I will be here the whole time making sure you get all of this info. All right. So I just want to start off by clearing the air. I know this is something on everybody's mind, thinking about, the global situation, what's going on with COVID. Looking specifically at the gap world, taking a gap year right now means really thinking even harder about the world around us and what makes sense to do from a health and safety perspective. So before I get started with all the good content we have today, I just want to note a few things for you to give you a context of how we're viewing the situation. So we here at EF Gap Year have really been planning for every possible future we can imagine. We are really lucky to have an incredible dedicated team working on our response to this issue. And really our number one goal is to give students a safe and healthy global experience. Our staff, we have staff across the globe, they are all working to really make the necessary modifications to itineraries, to safety protocols, contingency plans, all of that good stuff as we plan for this coming year's programs. And our organization as a whole, EF Education First, has offices or schools in 114 countries, which is really an incredible global infrastructure to allow us to both stay up to date on what's happening in each individual location, as well as to enact all the necessary precautions. Of course, all of you, you're thinking ahead for the 2021-2022 academic year, which is great. I think that'll give a little more time for us to see what the world looks like. And as you'll hear later, I'll give you some more of the details of that. We have a risk-free booking period for the 2021-2022 year program up until May 1st of 2021 if you apply early action. So this means that even once you're accepted and enrolled, you can always cancel or modify your itinerary with no financial penalty. So I know that's really important right now to give families, the ability to plan ahead with confidence during these uncertain times. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of how this situation relates to your gap planning right now. I also want to introduce you a little bit more in depth to myself. I have my own gap story, actually, like many of you are now. I was in my senior year of high school. I was, a really driven student. I'd gotten accepted to my dream school, and I was really excited to go to college to study international relations, but I hadn't really felt like I'd had the real world experiences that I wanted before heading down that path. So I actually ended up taking an intensive language-focused gap year in Turkey, which just taught me so much. I mean, it taught me a new language. It let me live with a homestay family and understand another culture in a way I really could never have imagined. And it gave me this insight into the history, the politics, the culture of this incredible country and the region around it, and really prepared me to be successful in college and in my life now in the field of international education. My gap experience has really stayed with me ever since then. Obviously, since I'm now working for a gap year program. I've lived, I've studied, I've worked in a number of countries across the globe, but my gap year remains the root of those experiences. So I chose these photos on the left here to, tell you a couple of ways that my gap continues to be a part of my life. So on the left, you'll see me there on the right with my host sister Irem in the middle and my host mom Yasemin on the far left. I've gone back to visit them, my host family, I think 5 or 6 times now since my gap year. My family from the US has gone to visit them as well, and they're really a part of my family. It's a bond that I'm sure I will have for the rest of my life. The second photo in the middle there is another really amazing bond that I formed there. They're the other US students who are a part of my cohort in my city. And we really formed this incredible bond. And now we all live in different places across the US, across the globe. We all have different career paths, different passions, but this experience really bonded us, and we keep in touch with each other. We have this lifelong bond. We actually just had a big group Zoom a couple of weeks ago and loved being all together in this, virtual cyberspace. So this is really a part of my story. I think I could do an entire webinar on it, but I will spare all of you. But it's just one story in a huge bucket of gap stories. I hear from our alumni all the time about similar moments of challenge and growth and learning, the same kinds of things that I went through. And every gap year student has these same moments, just in different ways, and it impacts them in different ways. But I guarantee that no matter who you are, where you're coming from, where you want to go, what your goals are for your gap, an experience like this will profoundly shape you in positive ways you could never have anticipated. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my story because I think it helps explain why I was drawn to work at EF, and specifically to be on the EF Gap Year team to really work to make this type of life-changing experience happen for other young people. So I can say with all of my experiences working and studying in international programs, I truly believe in this program. It's amazing. I love hearing our alumni stories of transformation, and there's just an incredible global team of superstars that I work with here at EF every day who make students' gap experiences amazing and personalized and really impactful. So that's my story. We'll stop there, but I want to get really into the definition of what a gap year is. And I know all of you have obviously heard the term gap year before, that's why you're here, but I love breaking it down to the basics here. This is the definition from the Gap Year Association, and they define a gap year as a semester or a year on, typically taken between high school and college in order to deepen one's personal, practical, and professional awareness. I think this is such a great and succinct definition. There's really a lot packed in there, actually. I especially want to point out, I love this wording that a gap year is a year on, not a year off. So as you all maybe have seen in the news lately, there's been a lot of talk about more students than ever who are thinking of taking a gap year next year. But I think sometimes these articles miss the point of a gap, that it's not, it's not just sitting on your couch biding time. It's really an intentionally planned time for self-growth and exploration. So you can really do a lot of different things on your gap, but they all come back to this idea that it's a time for you to learn and grow and develop experientially in new ways. On that note, I want to talk about some of the things that, are learning outcomes for gap years in general, but specifically for our EF Gap Year program. So at EF Gap Year, we look to our educational philosophy, which is centered on creating an intentional and diverse gap experience with a number of different outcomes. So I want to summarize them into these 4 buckets that you see on your screen right now. And these are really backed up by a whole body of emerging research about gap years, which we are actively contributing to and so excited to see. So for example, college. Students who take a gap enter college feeling more mature, feeling refreshed after the stresses of high school. 90% of gap students go straight to college. This is a stat that I think it's important to note. A gap isn't a detour from the college path. It's a step in the right direction that will allow you to really maximize your time on campus from day one when you set foot on campus. You really start your college experience, with more life experience, more of these amazing moments of self-growth to bring with you. With a gap year, you are not just learning inside the classroom. We really focus on experiential learning, which allows you to gain leadership skills. And, even though it's an experiential learning program, what's so cool about gap years is that actually the studies have shown that students who take a gap have higher GPAs on average than students who went straight to college once they're in college. So I think that's such an incredible statistic that gaining these life skills that you do on a gap year sets you up for success in college, both inside and outside the classroom. Kind of on that same note, we really want our students to become global citizens. What does this mean? This means that you are gaining perspective. You know, we all grow up in whatever little bubble we grow up in. We see the world around us from that lens. Going on a gap year, being able to immerse yourself in different cultural environments, being exposed to new people, speaking new languages, experiencing global issues in a different way, all of these really allow you to gain perspective, to gain cultural awareness and understanding, which are really important increasingly in the job market today. You know, these are skills that are important to you personally, but also for you setting yourself up for success in your future career. On that note too, you're developing empathy. You know, one of the biggest things I got out of my gap year was, you know, the knowledge that I can go anywhere in the world and I'm gonna, you know, have these incredibly wonderful, kind people. We may not be able to speak the language, we may not be able to communicate right off the bat, but there are people who are looking out for me, who are making sure that I'm doing okay. And I love that about this program as well, that wherever you are, you're gonna find your own community and you're really gonna grow within it. Reignite your passion for learning. We, as I've said, I think you probably heard me drop the word experiential about 10 times since this talk started, but we are all about experiential learning. So as I said, learning happens both inside and outside the classroom, but what we really focus on is this hands-on, interactive, experiential learning. So your year grows and evolves as you grow, which really gives you the necessary skills for having a growth mindset as you go into your life and feeling really ready for whatever life throws at you. Finally, I just want to, you know, note that this is a time to seize the moment. So a gap year is truly a unique time in your life for developing this growth mindset, for challenging yourself, for pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, for having all of these amazing experiences. And all of this together is going to build an incredible foundation for you, and a mindset that allows you to look at challenges as opportunities, which really, I can't tell you enough, it sets you up for success throughout the rest of your life. So I want to show you this timeline, just switching gears a little bit. This is kind of how I'm imagining your gap year to fit into your timeline going forward. So you're in the exact right spot right now. You're maybe even ahead of the game here by researching your gap options right now. This is the key time to be thinking about what you want out of a gap, learning exactly what we just talked about, you know, these benefits of a gap year, deciding that that's the right path for you. And then, you know, making the decision to apply for your gap program. So I'll talk a little bit more about our early action deadline, but the fall is a great time to be putting in those applications, getting those acceptances, and really planning your college application process around your gap year acceptance. So once you are going through the college process, you know, you are really setting yourself up to make a decision that's based on what you want to do in the future. Many colleges love seeing gap year students. Some of them even have special scholarships. I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But you know, going into that college process, knowing that you want to take a gap, saying I already have this acceptance under my belt is a huge plus for you. So apply for those colleges fall 2020, get those acceptances, decide on your college and defer your enrollment once you've been accepted in the spring. And then you'll go on your gap year in the fall. So this breaks it down. I think sometimes it feels a little bit daunting saying, okay, senior year is coming. I have all of these things that I need to do. I don't really know how they fit together. So I hope this can give you a little bit of a look to show you that, first of all, you're on the right track. You're even ahead of time. And next, applying for colleges, getting those acceptances and deferring that enrollment. So I wanted to just show you this timeline to make sure that you know that you're on the right track. So I want to talk about our program specifically now. So I know that a lot of you are here to learn more about our program itself, and that's what I'm going to devote most of the rest of this session for. So I know it's still a year off, but I really want to get you excited and envisioning yourself in all of these amazing experiences you'll have on your gap. So we really think of a gap year as your year, a time for you to gain perspective that will impact the way you see yourself in the world. So I think this is a great way to start imagining yourself as part of the program. These are some Instagram photos from a few of our alumni this past year in Paris, Thailand. You can see the elephant down there. Barcelona, our Ashridge campus in a castle outside of London. All of this will sort of help you start envisioning yourself in their shoes and imagine what it's like to be in these places and in these moments. I actually want to show you a video now. I think it really helps bring the program to light. So I'm just going to play this for you now.
This gap year has completely changed my life.
Before I came on my gap semester, I was very scared.
As soon as I met people, things fell into place just because we were all in the same boat and like we were going through the same experiences.
I made relationships on this gap year that will last my entire life.
My gap year has showed me new cities that I didn't know existed, and I completely fell in love with some.
I'm studying Spanish in Barcelona. Within an hour, I have learned more than 2 years than high school back in the States. When you leave the classroom, you're already enveloped in a Spanish-speaking culture, and it's just like the perfect place to keep practicing everything that you've learned.
I did my service learning module in Costa Rica. We worked a lot with animals and wildlife, especially marine life. Service learning, when I first started out, it felt a lot like volunteer work, but I realized there's a lot more collaboration in service learning than I think people realize. You have to give a lot of yourself to the projects, but also the projects are there to support you in return.
I interned in Tokyo. I really wanted to discover and find for myself what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do. So now I know the business world is for me. It's something that's in my comfort zone. It's something that I can see myself thriving in the future, and that's really why I wanted to take a gap year.
The Leadership Academy was not what I expected. I was expecting to be very bored, and wow, I was wrong. The Leadership Academy brought out so many different emotions than I ever expected. I got to see people break out of their comfort zones. I got to see people be vulnerable and honest.
I think the Leadership Academy is honestly where, in terms of myself and growing as a person, I got the most out of.
My gap year helped me discover my purpose and solidify what I want to do in the future.
I couldn't feel more ready to just take on the world, take on my life, and just experience it with all the knowledge that I've gained.
My gap year changed my life. Taking a year off to really get to know yourself, figure out what you want, how you want to contribute to this world, it's so important and it benefits everything you do in the future.
I believe that this is one of the best decisions I've made in my life, no doubt.
I love that video. I've seen it so many times now, but every time I see something a little bit different. I especially love the end there, because I think it really hits on a key concept that we focus on at EF Gap Year, which is that it's your year. It's really your year to learn a new language, to travel the world, to become the leader that you know you are, to explore, to learn, to serve, to grow. All of these different components we put together in one program to allow you to explore the world while gaining these skills that'll prepare you for real life. And in fact, we are the only gap year program that lets you explore multiple countries and choose where to go in such a customizable way, because we want you to choose the path that's right for you. And I'm going to get now into what that path looks like. That path includes so many incredible destinations across the globe, but this is just a sampling of those destinations, and we are always adding to the list. Right now, our program spans 5 continents with more than 20 unique destinations. And we're really able to do that because we have this incredible network here at EF Education First. This is our organization. We are one part of this bigger organization that runs different educational travel programs across the globe. And we really love being an EF Gap Year because we get to really experience all the best parts of all the other programs at EF. So we have this incredible global team who allows us to incorporate language study at our EF language schools across the globe, service learning with some of our incredible directors in different countries across the globe, as well as an international internship. So that's really an amazing thing to be able to tap into, and gives us so much support, especially right now in these times when we are lucky to have such an incredible global team. At EF2, I just really want to highlight our mission, because I think our mission really drives each and every one of us every day when we come to work. Our mission is opening the world through education, and this is something we've actually been doing for 55 years. We are a Swedish company, and we really hold fast to that, those ideals. And we think that the mission of opening the world through education is actually just as important, if not perhaps more important today in the midst of a global crisis like this. This is when we really need more global citizens who are ready to tackle the global issues that we're facing today. So whether it's your first or your 50th time traveling outside the country, at EF, we're with you every step of the way. We have staff, schools, or offices in every country on your gap year, so you always have that local support and knowledge. And on top of that, we have a team of incredible advisors here in Boston who help you prepare and who are in touch with you throughout the entire duration of your program, so that you always have that support, have them checking up on your goals, seeing how you're doing, and having that consistent presence throughout the entire program. So let's talk a little bit specifically about what our program looks like. So an EF Gap Year combines international travel with service learning, language learning, and an internship. The really beautiful thread that pulls it all together is, I'm going to say this word again, experiential learning. So throughout the program, you get to really experience all these different types of learning and combine them and really sort of think about how they together build upon each other and help you come out of the program feeling even more ready to tackle whatever challenge comes next. So I really want to take a look at the itinerary. I think it's helpful to break it down into this timeline. This is the Gap Year program, which is 26 weeks. You can see we start with an orientation, which happens right outside New York at our Tarrytown campus. It really sets the rules of the road for students, allows them to get to bond with each other, sets them up for success on the program. Then everybody goes together into the European Immersion part of the program. I'll tell you all the details in just a second. Then students move into their first custom module. So I think this is what makes our program really special, is that each of these custom modules allow you to pick whatever location really fits your gap dreams and goals. So the first custom module, everyone will be at one of our language schools. The second, everyone will be at a service learning project. Then students will have winter break. They'll head home. They'll show you show your parents all your incredible photos. Then you'll head back on the road down to Australia and New Zealand, having an incredible 3-week immersion down there before you go into your final custom module, which is your international internship in one of many amazing global cities. And finally, the Leadership Academy, an incredible way to really process that entire trajectory and think about how to take it forward. This is the GAP semester program. I think it's another unique piece of the EF program. So for those who don't want to or can't quite be away as long, I think the 12-week GAP semester is such an incredible way to condense this experience into a 12-week program. So it's very similar, you'll see, to the year program. It doesn't have that break in the middle, and it only has 2 custom modules, but actually this means you can really customize it to fit your goals. So say that you really want to gain French proficiency during your GAP, you can do double language module in Paris, for example. So it's a really great way if you have a specific goal to be able to achieve that in a short amount of time. So I want to walk you through each of these components that I mentioned just briefly as we went through the timeline. First of all, European immersion. This is really how we kick off the international aspect of the program. It gives students a chance to connect with each other, to see these new places, and they have an EF tour director who handles all the logistics and accommodation, make sure they're safe, make sure that they're adjusting well to that international life. I love this experience. I think whether you have been to all of these cities, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Barcelona before, or whether you've never left the country, there's something for you. In each city, you do see those must-sees of each of these incredible global cities, but you also have a lot of time on your own to really explore. I think it's even more fun because you're exploring with your new friends, right? The only thing cooler than rounding the corner and seeing the Eiffel Tower catching you off guard is having that experience with 3 of your new friends and being able to chat and laugh about it over a cup of coffee and a croissant. So lots of incredible experiences, incredible cities, and students are really challenged for the first time with that independence, with that self-advocacy, learning that cultural intelligence in these really big global cities, and getting a feel for those group dynamics. So this is a part of both the year and the semester program. Next, students move into their first custom module. So I'm sure almost all of you have taken language classes in a classroom, but this is something that's really different. This is your chance to fully immerse yourself in a language and a culture. So it's one thing to know a few Spanish words about food, be able to write them down on a worksheet, but it's totally another thing to be able to actually order a full meal in Madrid from a waiter that knows no English. So maybe, you know, your goal is to study French on the coast in Nice. Maybe you want to learn Spanish from the beach in Costa Rica. Perhaps you want to start learning Japanese in downtown Tokyo. So we offer 8 different languages in 12 different destinations. So no matter what your language goals are, there's something for you. You know, a typical day for a student at one of our language schools, they're staying with homestay families, which is another incredible way to be immersed in the language. You wake up, have breakfast with your homestay family, head into class at the EF language school, maybe around 9:30, have classes until the early afternoon. Your teachers really focus on practical skills with the language. So you're learning how to use that Spanish out in the street. You're learning how to order sushi in Japanese. You are really putting all the pieces together to, you know, be a successful member of the life in whatever city that you're in. So you're in the classroom, have these incredible native speaker teachers teaching you at whatever level you're at. So we have everything from complete beginner to very advanced in all of our language schools. After your classes are over, you'll head out maybe with a couple of friends. Maybe some of them are from your program. Maybe some of them are new friends who are locals, have some lunch together. If you're in Paris, for example, maybe you'll stroll around, hit up the Louvre, view some, you know, pieces of art, head out in the evening, just back to your homestay family's house, have a meal with them, chat with them, maybe watch the news, just hang out and enjoy being together. Maybe you'll pop back out to meet up with a couple of friends later that night. It's a really, you know, it's a really great way to immerse yourself in that culture, in that language, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. So it's both that inside the classroom and that natural learning that happens when you're out on the streets. The next custom module that you have is service learning. So students really feel transformed by this module. This is what we hear the most from students coming out saying, wow, I learned about a global issue in a way that I've never thought about before. So just a couple of examples of their projects that students do. They all support either the local community, the people, or the environment. These are kind of our focuses for our service learning projects. A couple of examples are a sea turtle conservation project that students love in Costa Rica, teaching English, working in an elephant sanctuary in Thailand. You can see that elephant there in the photo. Developing infrastructure in Peru. All of these are just examples of the types of projects that you work on. And ultimately, it's not just about the projects, but it's about the experience of being in that country, engaging with a global issue, and learning about how a community is approaching it. We work with really established NGOs in each of these places, who are also teaching our students about the global issues that each community is facing and how they handle it on a local level. I just want to highlight, you know, when I said stories of transformation, a story I want to share quickly is our student Annabelle, who she ended up doing language study in Costa Rica and then service learning in the Dominican Republic. And after her time in these countries, and especially after her time in the Dominican Republic working on these coral reef projects that students do, she had totally changed her mind about what she wanted to do in college. She had gone into the program thinking, I'm going to go to art school, that's my passion. She realized there that, oh, marine biology is something that I really want to do. And I actually was just talking with her a couple of weeks ago, and she's just can't be more excited about following that path and has really seen herself flourishing in college now that she's been able to pursue that. So it's stories like these that we hear from students a lot, where they are really excited by the experiences that they have on this program, and they're figuring out how to incorporate them into their lives after their gap as well. So after service learning, for the year students, you will head home for a well-deserved winter break. As I said, you will have so many photos and stories to share with folks back at home. And when winter break is over, you are back on the road for a 3-week tour of Australia and New Zealand. It's an incredible way to be back with your fellow gappers, traveling in these beautiful countries, everywhere from the incredible Great Barrier Reef to bustling Sydney to a fjord cruise in the Milford Sound. This is such a great experience, especially for those who are into outdoor activities or adventure enthusiasts. And there are such wonderful tour directors that we have there to make sure that you experience it all. So just a note, this is only on the year program, semester program. We don't have time for it, sadly, but it's such an amazing 3 weeks that students get to have. Finally, you'll go into your internship. So Your internship is really the most independent part of your gap experience. You'll be living actually in an apartment with other gappers. You'll be learning how to live and work and do that 9 to 5, do the commute in one of 10 different global cities. So you'll gain professional experience working in a company, an NGO, a startup. We have so many different types of companies and organizations that we work with. We work with each student to really place them in an internship where they feel like they're contributing their skills, they feel like they're learning something, and they have great mentorship. You're not just getting coffee, you're actually working on different projects, getting to use your skills to help a company itself. So let's check out what a couple of these students from last year say. They're both in Sydney. This is Emma and this is Jenna. You can see behind Emma, actually, this is Sydney Harbour. So this is the famous opera house in Sydney from her office where she was working. So pretty incredible views, I have to say.
Okay, hi, it's Emma. So right now I'm working at a company that works with compliance, with financial documents, kind of making sure that all of the laws are being followed. So pretty much every day I'm working with expense reports, financial projections, contracts, kind of just learning everything about business. So great.
Yeah, so that's Emma, and this is Jenna. They both have really different experiences, even though they're in the same city.
Okay, hi, I'm Jenna. I am interning at L&A Social Media Marketing, and I, as of now, have been doing a lot of copyright. So I make Instagram ads, and I've been making shot lists, so I help the photographers kind of figure out like what they want to do for our next photo shoot. So I give them inspiration.
Love hearing their stories. So you can see even in the same city, they both have really different experiences. One in a larger organization, one in a smaller one being able to be more artsy, one being able to gain some really important business skills. So no matter where you're at in terms of what you want out of an internship, we definitely help place you. So we often hear from students, how does that work? How do we place you? So basically the short story is we work with each student to put together their resume and their application during their gap year and secure them an internship in the city of their choice. So we guarantee a placement for all of our participants, and we work really closely with you to make sure it fits what you're looking for and what the organization that you're working for is also looking for. So finally, the program wraps up with the Leadership Academy. So both year and semester programs, and here at our Ashridge campus in the UK, it looks like something straight out of Harry Potter or something. I think it's an incredibly beautiful space and a really wonderful way to wrap up this entire gap experience. So what you're doing during the Leadership Academy is a combination of facilitated group workshops, you're doing the Strengths Finder test, you're doing a self-assessment of your growth over the past year, and you're also hearing from some really amazing speakers who are, sharing their wisdom with you and really helping you process your gap experience. So this is an amazing way to process the program and think about what you're bringing from it into your future and beyond. I was actually speaking to an alum of ours, Sophie, a couple weeks ago, and she was telling me that it really surprised her that leadership was actually her favorite part of her gap semester. So of course she had an incredible experience in Sydney and in Tanzania, but leadership allowed her to really process all that she had learned and feel super confident going forward after her gap. So we hear this a lot from students. They say, I don't really know what Leadership Academy is all about. And then when they come out, they say, that was incredibly transformational. It's something I couldn't have even described beforehand. So that's the long and the short of it with the program. Then we fly all of our students home and they get to take these experiences with them going forward. I think it's great to think about too what kinds of documented skills you get from this program. So students work with their individual gap year advisor back in Boston throughout the entire year, and their advisor helps them stay on track with their goals. So, whatever your goals are for the program, your advisors help you sort of set them and make sure that they're monitoring to keep you on track, to make sure that you're thinking about your progress throughout the program. In addition to that, you can actually earn up to 9 semester college credits through our educational partners up in New Hampshire University. This is a great way to come out of your gap and onto college campus with some credits under your belt. Usually these tick off some of those general requirements that students at all colleges are required to do. Plus, students actually say that they get more out of the program when they're doing the college classes. Another alum I was talking to recently was saying she didn't do the semester credit option, but one of her friends did, and she was always looking at her friend who was doing these interesting projects as part of the coursework. She was going out and having to interview people in the local community, for example, and she was saying, oh, My friend just got so much more out of it because she decided to do that. So it's a great way to both maximize your experience on the ground and, of course, to gain those college credits that are so important going forward. In addition, if you do all of those 9 semester credits, you can join our Global Scholars Program, which allows you to earn a university level certificate, another awesome way to really set yourself up for success in college and beyond. I want to talk to you about really how to make it happen for you. So that starts with talking about the program fee and what it includes. So for the year program, it starts at $34,700, for the semester at $18,500. And that includes basically everything. So it includes your airfare and transport from your hometown all the way across the globe and back. It includes your accommodations. This might be the homestay family in your language module, for example, hotels and hostels for your service learning, and that apartment during your internship. It includes most of your meals. This varies by module, but for the service learning module, for example, for your homestay family, it's breakfast and dinner during the week and all your meals on the weekend. So, you know, most of your meals are also included with that fee. Also includes all your activities and events, your tuition at the language school, all of that good stuff. It also includes your global support. As I said, we have this incredible on-the-ground support and global support. You know, we're in touch with students all the time. We're there should anything happen to really make sure that they're safe, to make any necessary arrangements, to help them out. So we're really there, and we are, you know, that's one of our strengths too as an organization, is that we have this global presence. Finally, that mentorship. I can't emphasize enough how awesome our advisors are here in Boston. They really care about each student and work with them one-on-one to make sure that they're achieving their goals, make sure they're doing well. It's a challenging experience, so they're just there to talk through anything that a student might want to talk through throughout the program. So it's an incredible way to also get that valuable mentorship experience throughout the duration of the program. And of course, I want to talk about funding. I mean, that's the big question we get from students too. How do I make this happen for me? So I would definitely recommend that you check out our website and the Gap Year Association's website, which has a great list of scholarships on there. But what we see from students is, first of all, we have our own EF Gap Year scholarships. I'll walk you through the details of those in just a minute, but they are a great way to get funding from us to make this program happen and really highlight your skills as well, to let us know, you know, how much of a global citizen you are and what your skills are going into the program. There are also university-based scholarships. So as I said before, some universities actually offer scholarships to students who have done a gap year. For example, UNC Chapel Hill, University of Florida, Warren Wilson College, all of these offer special scholarships to students who have done a gap year. So it's great to know going into that college application process. If you're not sure where you want to go, it's great to put in some applications at these schools that offer special scholarships for gap year students if you're planning ahead like all of you are. There are also a number of private gap year scholarships. I chose this picture because Diego got one of those external scholarships. He's one in the picture there. The Travel Access Project is a great resource. That's what Diego got, and I know some other students have gotten that as well. A lot of things around there to apply for, kind of like with college. We have our own scholarships and there are also external ones, so that's a great way to make it happen for you. Some students also fundraise in their community. And of course, there's the monthly payment schedule, which makes planning ahead really great because you have a longer time to spread those payments out. So I want to talk quickly about our EF Gap Year scholarships. I think you all are going to be naturally a very competitive and very great fit for these scholarships because you're planning so far ahead, because you already know that a gap year is something for you. One of our scholarships is the Global Influencer Scholarship. It's for natural storytellers who are actually mentored by our EF marketing professionals to share their gap stories online and on social media. So this is a great way to not only get some funding towards your program, but also to work on your marketing skills with a skilled professional, come out of your gap year with some amazing content that you've been able to create and have edited, or have suggestions from our marketing team on that. We actually had some incredible things come out of here, from blog posts to videos to incredible photography collections. So students really excel when they get this scholarship. We also have Global Citizen Scholarships. So those are for students who show great enthusiasm, aptitude, and commitment for learning and growing in a global community. For this, it's for students who are you already know that they are going to change the world. The submission criteria are pretty simple for both of these: 400 or 500 word essays, a letter of recommendation, And for the Global Citizen Scholarships, you can earn up to $10,000. For the other one, it's $1,500 for the gap year students, $1,000 for the gap semester students. So both of these are great ways to really offset that cost there. And we really want to make this opportunity available for as many students as possible. So now let's talk about that early application deadline. So now you've all learned about the way the program works, how to plan for it. I want to walk through what that early application deadline looks like and how that can help you plan for the fall. So starting now, first of all, gives you a huge advantage in terms of coming up with a plan that fits your gap dreams and goals. So you'll work closely with a gap year consultant. Maybe some of you have already been in touch with yours. They're incredible resources for you to help plan your itinerary, help with the college deferral process, give you all the info on scholarships and financing, and really just being there for you every step of the way. They are such a font of wisdom. They talk to students every day and really can help you picture yourself on a gap year and what that will look like for you specifically. I think that's one of the greatest parts about our program is we do customize it. We work with each student individually to make sure that we find the right fit for you. Next, you're really able to put that college and gap pieces together. So like I said, with that gap year acceptance under your belt, you're even more prepared for the college application process. There are those colleges that offer special scholarships to gap year students, and really knowing you want to take a gap and planning for ahead of time can get you funding during the college process in general as well. Next, risk-free booking. I think this is so crucial when making plans so far ahead and living in these times where making such a big commitment feels a little more difficult than usual. So if you apply before the September 1st early action deadline, any money you paid, including the usually non-refundable $500 application fee, is totally refundable up until May 1st of 2021. So we hope this will give you some security and peace of mind as you make your gap year plans. Next, that top choice itinerary. We have so many incredible destinations and some of them fill up really quickly. So enrolling now means that whatever your dream itinerary is, you can be sure that you'll be able to make it happen. Also, as I mentioned earlier, planning early gives you the time to plan and save. So not only are you getting to figure out your scholarship decision earlier, but you also get to set up a monthly plan that really allows you to pay less per month over time. We also have students, for example, who decide during their senior year they're going to get a part-time job to help finance their gap year. There are just so many ways to make it happen for you, and giving yourself this time now gives you that many more options. Finally, I think this last one is super crucial. You get to go into your senior year feeling really secure in your plans. I mean, senior year is stressful, it's hectic, I mean, it's wonderful, but there's so much pressure to do so much, from AP classes to college applications to prom to graduation, all that good stuff. So knowing your gap year plans really gives you the peace of mind that you already know what you're doing after your senior year. I think too, just overall, the biggest advantage to planning now is that it works for you. The most successful students on our GAP programs, I would say, are ones who planned ahead well. They have that mindset, they know what they want to do, they're making it work for them. So you're in the right spot thinking ahead right now. Thinking about the next steps, I want to outline clearly what it looks like to go through that application process. The first is to chat with a gap year consultant. As I said, there's such great resources, no matter whether you already know exactly what you want to do in your gap or you have absolutely no idea. They've heard it all, they are ready for your questions, big, small, everything in between. And they really work with you closely to answer all your questions and get your personal itinerary figured out. Once you've chatted with them and kind of figured out what you want to do during your gap year, they'll send you the online application, and I'll actually be sending that to you all tomorrow. Of course, I always encourage you to chat with a gap year consultant first, but sometimes you want to take a look at the application, you already know what you want to do, you can go ahead and submit it. So usually we wait until after students chat with a gap year consultant, but since you've all watched this webinar and gotten familiar with the program itself, I'm going to go ahead and send it out to you tomorrow. Getting that in by that September 1st early action deadline is a great way to, as I said, maximize your senior year through all the things that were on that last slide. And finally, we will do an interview, and fingers crossed, everything goes well. We will accept you and you'll be able to book your program. So like I said, we have that risk-free booking until May of next year, and you can go into senior year with your GAP plans in order. So I just want to leave you with a quick video before we jump into the Q&A session. Here's Diego again, you saw him earlier.
If I'm talking to a high school senior right now, I would say take a gap year. That's all I can say is like, you will grow as a person and like you will just become way more mature, way more responsible, way like everything.
Taking a break doesn't mean you're being unproductive. You could learn a lot about yourself through a gap year. You could learn a lot about what you're capable of.
Your whole childhood is planned out for you. Everything is planned, and then being away for a year, away from your parents.
And you go into school being so much more sure of who you are as a person and what's important to you.
Take it. You won't regret it. It's going to be the best year of your life. You're going to make the best memories ever.
Best decision I've ever made in my life. Take a gap year.
If our child
again. Let's take a look at the questions we have here. I know we had a great, we have some questions coming in the chat. Oops. I hope you all could hear me just now. My microphone was up for just a second while I was playing that video. We're going to go into the Q&A session now. I want to go through some of them. We have a great question from Scott. Our question is how to start discovering what consultant, company, or group of program is right for you. There are individual consultants and then companies like this one that seem to promote their own programs. How does one know where to begin? It's overwhelming. We hear that from a lot of people. Our goal here, of course, we love our program. We would love students to do our program, but ultimately our goal is to chat with each student individually and see what's right for them. And if this isn't the right program for them, we'll refer them to somebody who is the right fit. So for us, I think the most important thing is promoting the idea of a gap year in general. As I said earlier, we're part of the Gap Year Association. We really believe in this concept above all, and we want this program to fit, and we think it does fit for a variety of different students. So know that you can always come to us, whatever stage you're at. We're not going to give you the hard sell. We just want to hear what you're thinking about, hear your concerns, and help you talk through them. And if our program is the right fit for you, that's awesome. We'll help you make it happen. If not, we can refer you to other people. We work a lot with external gap consultants who can direct students to different programs. We have great relationships with other gap year providers. So there are so many great options out there. We think ours is the best, of course, but we're here to support you, whatever that decision is for you. It's definitely overwhelming. So I definitely encourage you to talk to different folks, go to presentations like this, get all the information so you feel like you're making an informed decision and making the best decision for you and your family. The second part of the question is, if we can't make that research and decision by September 1, there will be no more opportunity to have some insurance on cancellation if the world is still mad. Great question. So like I said, there's that $500 application fee that is generally non-refundable. Definitely chat with us. Let us know what your concerns are. We really try to work with families to make it possible for everyone to feel like they're, making a decision that's right for them. So if that's a concern of yours, chat with your gap consultant. We'll see what we can do to make sure that you feel confident in your decision. Question, is Israel one of the countries? Israel is not one of the countries. Unfortunately, I wish we could expand to every country in the world, but we do have a number of other great locations on the website. There's a great look. Oh, Natalia sent that link actually to all of our different destinations. So that's a great place to go to check out what destinations are available. You can even filter them. So you could say, I want to look only at locations in Europe, or only locations in Asia, or only the language module destinations. So you can really filter them out to see what we have available there. We had a great question from Jeanette about the Leadership Academy, if that's the same thing as the Gap Year or just one specific program. So you probably asked this before I went through it actually, but it's a part of the Gap Year program. We love this part of the program. That's a great way to cap off that experience that you have throughout your Gap Year. Thanks, Natalia, for answering a lot of these, by the way. So sorry if I'm repeating some of the things that she typed out. Just going through and wanting to make sure we get all of those questions answered. Is there a list of schools that offer Gap Year scholarships or a list of scholarships offered by external sources? Yes, a great place to start is on our website on the scholarship section. We list a couple of those. You can also check out the Gap Year Association's website. Maybe Natalia, you can send that out if you haven't already, but a link to their website which talks about scholarships and really can also be a resource for anyone who's thinking about the Gap Year process and wanting a little guidance on what that looks like overall. Oh, she already sent that link. She's one step ahead of me. Another question, are the semester kids mixed in with the full year kids? So actually we keep them separate for the most part of the program. They don't quite line up timeline wise. And what we really want to is for students to bond with their own cohort. So maybe they might overlap with it's not an intentional planning for them to be together, like perhaps at a language school, they might be together for a couple of weeks. We find that students really bond with their cohort in the year program or in the semester program, whichever one they're in. Great, so many good questions. Just want to make sure I answer all of them. How many scholarships are offered at each Global Influencer and Global Citizen? We actually just awarded scholarships to our students for this coming year. And I believe we had close to 10 for the Global Citizen and 5 for the Global Influencer. We are trying to expand our funding every year to make more and more scholarship funding available for students, especially those exceptional students who are writing these amazing applications. They're really superstars. So that's what it was for this year. You can actually go to our Instagram page and you can see their names and we give them a little shout out. We're really proud. We have such a great cohort for next year. Lots of great scholarship winners there. Oh, this is such a good question. We have one that says, you said that the gap semester is more customizable if you have a specific goal. You speak more about that and how it is different from the gap year program. Great question. So with the semester program, you have these 2 custom modules. You have the same thing in the year program, but for the year program, you're doing 1 module of language, 1 module of service, and 1 module of internship. So for the semester, you can actually customize it to fit your goals. So we actually have students, for example, who do double internships. They really want to maximize their time at an organization, getting those business skills, having that experience for a longer period of time. You can also say, okay, I really want to focus on Asia, for example. So I want to do a language module in Tokyo and I want to do my service learning in Thailand. So it really allows you to focus on whatever goals you might have with language or with business. Maybe you're really passionate about service learning and you want to learn about global issues both in Costa Rica and in the Dominican Republic. It's a great way for you to be able to do a double module of one of the aspects that you're most passionate about. So great question. We always want to make the year program as customizable as possible too. So definitely chat with your gap consultant to sort of figure out what your goals are and how to really make those happen for you. Oh, the link to the Gap Association program, Jeanette, it's farther up in the chat. Sorry, all these things are mixed in there, but you can find it up there. gapyearassociation.org is the URL there, or you can Google Gap Year Association and it should be the first thing that pops up. Another question here about any accommodations if COVID interferes with going on a gap year. Great question. We have a resource on our website that walks you through all of our COVID policies right now. Of course, those are continuously evolving. So, we'll reevaluate every day of the year between now and when you would be departing next year. And all of those would be reflected and communicated to you from your gap consultant or your gap advisor, as well as being listed on the website there. So maybe Natalia, you can also send out the link to our COVID page, which really gives you a clear idea of all the precautions that we're taking right now. Great, got that one out of there. Let's see, any other questions? Feel free to throw them in. This chat is great, but we also have the Q&A boxes as well, so feel free to throw them in either location. See, thanks for the session. I will follow up with a gap consultant. Love to hear that. I will be sending out an email tomorrow to everyone to make sure that you have all these resources. Your gap consultants are also, in touch with you. You might have seen an email from them. Their names are Kyle, Lauren, Natalia, who's here on the keys here, of course, and Christina. So you might have heard from one of them in the past, maybe by email, by text, by phone. So basically they're there as a resource for you. Feel free to email them, to give them a call, to shoot them a text. If you have any questions about tonight's session, you can go through your email inbox and figure out who yours is, but they're all so wonderful at helping students find their gaps, and they're there for you as a resource. Oh, thank you, Natalia, for sending that travel advisory page. Definitely check that out if you have other questions about our COVID response. A great question from Scott, is there a male-female ratio? Yes, ours is pretty similar to what it is in study abroad in general, which is about 60-40, 60% women, 40% men. That's just the way it seems to be. We got to get some more guys on the program. So it's a pretty good ratio that we're excited. We have so many great students of all genders. So that's what we're at right now. Any other questions y'all want to throw in? Oop. Thank you. You're so welcome. I hope this was helpful for all of you. If you do think of any other questions, feel free to throw them in right now as I'm wrapping up. Also be on the lookout tomorrow in your email. I'll send you out that application. I'll send you out some other resources that we talked about today. I'll put in that Gap Year Association website, some scholarship info, everything you need to know about that September 1st deadline, just to make sure you have all the info that you need. Don't hesitate to reach out to me afterwards by email, shoot me any questions that you have. And of course, your Gap consultants are there. That's exactly what they're there for, to answer any questions you might have, big or small. So thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate your taking the times out of your schedule, and happy Gap planning.